Hi, my name is Allie Stoddard. I own greenalleycbd.com, but I want to talk to you today about Dr. John Hicks. He wrote this seminal book on CBD, hemp, and it's called The Medicinal Power of Cannabis. It was published in 2015, and what is absolutely remarkable about this book and Dr. John Hicks is that he researched this plant and these cannabinoids and the endocannabinoid system at a time when nobody else was working with hemp. In 2015, I was working with the largest marijuana company at the time. We were trying to help people with cancer and autoimmune disease and chronic pain. And we were only working with the marijuana plant, and we were working with very high milligram counts, concentrated THC and CBD, but mostly THC. And so John had written this book, published this book in 2015 when CBD was presented in a little syringe of CBD that looked like tar. It smelled like tar, tasted like bitter tar, and the dose was a half a grain of rice. A half a grain of rice you have to push out of this syringe and give it to a child who had seizures or autism or somebody who's got arthritis or whatever you're trying to treat. And so he was working with this plant for many, many years. But what is absolutely visionary is that at that time, way back when, holistic medicine, John realized that food is medicine. Hippocrates, Albert Einstein, they all said the same thing. And in his book, he reveals all of these issues with food. And we're talking about inflammation. And he discusses GMOs and lectins, vegetable oil, and the benefits of omega-3s. He elucidated the research on what is the immune system, how the immune system is broken up into two main phases, which would have helped us through COVID had anybody read his book, because the immune system has one part that's interested in keeping viruses and bacteria and pathogens and clearing out toxins. And then the other part is building up antibodies. And what he wrote in this book is that you cannot have both of these parts of the immune system working if there's chronic inflammation. And so when he talks about the different foods with chronic inflammation, he's talking about lectins and GMOs and vegetable oil in 2015. So the research that he delved into, there were probably at that point, I think about 28,000 published studies on marijuana and PubMed. You go into PubMed, 28,000. Today there are probably double that. And most of the studies in the last couple of years have been on the endocannabinoid system. And back then, he talked about the immune system and the endocannabinoid system and how the immune system is affected by inflammation and how the CBD receptors, which are CB1 receptors, the CB2 receptors, how they are in charge of inflammation. And so in 2015, what he wrote in this book would have helped every single practitioner through COVID. It's just incredible. So he's talking about CBD from the hemp plant. And up until 2015, all of the practitioners and many of the big companies out there were integrating THC and marijuana into their practices, and they were not talking about CBD from the hemp plant. So he was a visionary. And he also stated that in the future, we will have multiple cannabinoids for different disease states. And sure enough, today we use CBN for sleep. We use CBG for brain issues and cancer. We use THCV for appetite suppressant and seizure control and Parkinson's. And his point was, we are going to need supplements, we're going to need omega-3s, and we're going to need other things that build up the immune system and strengthen the endocannabinoid system. And he wrote this at a time when nobody was talking about CBD. And he was helping children and parents and adults alike, putting his practice and his license on the line to talk about a plant that has been vilified for 100 years. He also gives the unique, amazing history of this plant and why it is today re-emerging. This is a rediscovery of a plant that's been used for thousands of years. So I just wanted to honor Dr. John Hicks. I never got to meet him. He passed away before I found him or his books, but he's got many YouTube videos that are relevant today. He talks about if there's a heart attack or a stroke and you can get CBD in that person within the first 6 hours, how it can ameliorate all the inflammation and the secondary effects and the tissue necrosis that happens after one of those events. I mean, he has 57 pages of references for this book, and everything in it is relevant today. And I just want to honor him, and thank you for honoring John Hicks. He is my mentor. I love this book. Go out and read it. Go out and buy it. It will teach you many, many things about the human body, the endocannabinoid system, and this amazing compound called cannabidiol that we have just learned. We are on the tip of the iceberg about why this is such a great plant. So thank you, John Hicks, for all your work and efforts. And thank you, Autism One, for honoring John this weekend.